What's up, guys? Spin Firearms here, and this is actually going to be a very interesting video, because if you've ever seen this channel before, you would know the Glock 26 Gen 3 and Gen 5 are my favorite go-to handguns for everyday carry and accurate shooting. They just are. I shoot them better than my larger full sizes, my compacts, and I shoot them much better than all my micro 9s, single stack, and pocket pistols. Subcompacts are literally the sweet spot. They are literally the perfect way to go for concealed carry. But as of late, I've had a new carry gun enter the rotation, and that's because I put a little over 550 rounds through it, made sure this thing runs, made sure it's reliable, and it now has entered the rotation. I even am so serious about this handgun, I ordered a Stealth Gear USA holster for it, and can't wait to pair the two together. Let's get into it. And before you get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. It's all much appreciated. What you see in front of me are two handguns that, generally speaking, of course, every handgun manufacturer makes lemons, but generally speaking, these will last you the rest of your life. You know, you could shoot 10,000 rounds a year, just continue to swap out parts and barrels. These will last you the rest of your life. I know someone with a Glock 26 who put 121,600 rounds through it before he changed the barrels. Very minimal malfunctions, and it's all because the loads were too light from his competition loads, right? Anyways, the FNS-9C is a discontinued handgun, whereas the Glock 26 Gen 3 came out in 1994. The FNS-9C is now actually discontinued, and that's why I found this for $324, or $323, I want to say, and then 48 cents or something like that. So I got it for an absolute steal. Now, these two handguns are very similar in size. This is a 12+1 setup. This base plate adds 2 rounds. This is a 12+1 setup, but this base plate adds nothing. I really wish FN would have added 1 round even, but they're both 12 rounds, and instead of using the flush mag, which they do make the flush mag, that's also 12 rounds, I did it with the extension because that's a good way to compare the two, right? So both 12+1, and the FN's just a tad bit longer, if you can see that. Width, they're basically the same, even though on the slide, the FN has a little bit more craftsmanship and character to it with those little cutouts, and that makes it a little harder to make holsters for this handgun. And then on top of that, overall length, the FN does have a 0.1 inch longer barrel and a little bit longer slide, as you can see. But a little bit longer barrel, slide, also width. All that stuff adds to overall flatter shooting, right? So these are two very manageable handguns that are generally small and concealable. But they're also battle-proven, battle-tested, and reliable handguns. The Glock 26 and 27 have been backup pistols for 75% of law enforcement in the United States of America, let alone over in Europe, stuff like that, right? So the Glock 26 is a proven design and proven platform at this point, and it even avoided the recalls of the Gen 4s simply because they use the same guide rods. Therefore, the Gen 4 subcompacts were not part of that recall. The FNS-9C, also very battle tested. FNs in general have been used in wars, in law enforcement, all sorts of different areas of life for a long time. These are two reliable handguns, and once again, another thing I want to point out, notice something. No optics, no lights, literally nothing. Just two plain Jane stock reliable handguns. Even though that's the only thing that is aftermarket on this handgun, doesn't really affect anything. So why do I like these, right? And Glock 26 is just reliable as can be. On top of that, it takes larger magazines, all the way up to 33 rounds, and if you want that small, very tiny flush setup like that, that would be a 10+1 11 round setup. Like I said, it's heavier, thicker, so it fills my hand really well, but on top of that, the recoil is so minimal. I have over 13 Glock 26s, and the reason I say over is because last time I stopped counting was at 13. No problems. I just never have issues with my 26s, my 27s, my 33s. They are generally some of the most reliable handguns in the world. Now, like I said, they're not fancy. They're not hype-driven. They're not beautiful. I mean, look at my finish. They're not beautiful. They're just guns that work. And at the end of the day, that's what I want for defending myself and my family. And on top of that, they're not too expensive. If I was in a self-defense encounter, God forbid, and I had to replace my handgun, right? So that's generally why I like that. These typically run about $500. The FNS-9C, like I said, I got mine for like $324, but generally you're going to find them about $450 used, about $650 new, even though they are discontinued. This handgun has so much going for it. It's one of the most accurate handguns I own. offers multiple backstrap, has awesome texturing. The Glock 26 has terrible texturing on it, whereas the FNS 9C has great texturing. So I did have to add grips, which is a little bit of a cost. Every year or 2 years, you just put new ones on. But the FN comes with great texturing right away. It's also more ergonomic than the Glock 26. This naturally feels better in my hands than the Glock 26. On the Glock 26, my fingers actually sit on the finger grooves. Even though it works well for me, they do sit on those finger grooves. About a third of my finger on them. But it still works really well. FN, it just feels really natural. And what's nice is a lot of people get pinched when they see stuff like this. Well, the way FN did it, they built it out. It's built out like a mini magwell all the way around. So, same with this base plate. Therefore, it prevents your finger from actually getting pinched when you're holding it. It ends up being here and here, and there is no pinching. The finish is absolutely unreal on the FN. I'm assuming the guy who owned it before me didn't do a lot of shooting, because I'm the only one who has scratched it up so far. Just in 2 spots, not a big deal. But the thing looks beautiful. Has a great finish, and the finish on my FN 503 was one of the best finishes I've ever seen on a handgun. This also comes with a rail. Now, I carry a handheld, and I'm rarely ever out at night because I have a family, 3 kids, and I'd rather be with them over anyone else doing anything possible at night. Plus, at night, you're more likely to have issues, and I just like living a stress-free life and being with my family. Comes with a rail, and this could very easily transition to your home defense as well. Throw a nice light on there, 17-round mag, which this takes as well. It comes with an 11-round mag with the flush base plate, one with the pinky extension, and a 17-round mag with a grip sleeve, so it doesn't pinch as well. It has this same little curved design, right? So you could make this your home defense. It's thick again, once enough to be very, very flat shooting. Has like a 3.5-inch barrel, therefore very little muzzle flip. Regular 3-dot sights, I am swapping these out. I just ordered some from XS, so I will be swapping out these sights to a tritium pair, whereas for carry, I like these. I will start carrying these, but I am going with an all tritium sight, as I might make this into a home defense pistol as well as everyday carry handgun. But FNs are just top-notch quality. Let's get into triggers. And once again, these are XS sights. I like them on this Glock 26. That's all I needed to add. This thing's good to go. No optic needed. Last time you saw someone sit there and go, okay, self-defense, optic, found my dot, boom. No, that doesn't happen. It's up close and personal. It's fast. It's chaotic. That whole sort of thing. Triggers. It's just a Glock trigger, guys. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just a good defensive trigger. Awesome reset on Glock. So it kicks back real fast. Very easy to pull. And a lot of people don't point that out. FN, great trigger on as well. So one thing I did want to point out. The mag release is interesting on these. If you press the side, it does come out. But sometimes it doesn't come out as much. It doesn't push, right? So you got to get right there. There's like this sweet spot, right? So you just got to get used to the sweet spot and sort of give it a nice little jiggle. If you press in these other spots, sometimes you have trouble. And I've seen other people mention that. And once again, this is ambidextrous. The Glock 26 Gen 3 isn't, but the Gen 5s are. This is another ambidextrous option out there. Mag release works great on both sides. Slide stop and slide release works great on both sides. So that's an awesome option for great shooting flat handgun for left-handed people. Let's get into that trigger real quick. See, it uses a hinge. Whereas the Glock 26 uses that little dingus, right? This uses a little hinge. But what's nice and different than the Smith & Wesson hinge trigger is if your finger gets up here, it can still pull on it. Because regardless where you put your finger, it's going to end up on the end. With the Smith & Wessons, if you were up top, it would still catch and it would still rub. You just got to follow it down a little bit. I don't touch that. I just pull on the bottom of the trigger, but under stress, that could happen. Large trigger guard, which is nice for a gloved finger if you live somewhere cold, but a very nice, clean, crisp, defined trigger. Reset a little longer, as FNs typically are, but it's a great reset. Kicks out. It's very audible. Tactile. Awesome. So, what are my overall thoughts on this handgun? Which one do I like better? I like the Glock 26 better, but that's because I have probably 50K plus rounds between all my 26s. Not a single issue, not a single hiccup, and they just run. And all the magazine availability, and just Glocks are so reliable. FNs, though, I love them. My reflex, over 3,000 rounds on a single issue. My FN 503, over 4,000 rounds, or 5,000, I don't remember. I'd have to look at my logs. Not a single issue. This is going to be the same way. This has now become my second favorite subcompact out there. It is just that flat shooting, that accurate, and that great of a trigger, and that's all with a crappy pair of iron sights. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.